All right, so you're gonna have to skip some. You're gonna have to fill in some powers now. So guys, if you got x cubed minus 1, you got x cubed minus 1, you're missing an x squared term and you're missing an x term. All right, you got your constant and you got your x cubed. So now that's going to be 1 x cubed. Now, to fill this in, guys, it's going to look like this. That's what your equation is going to look like. Okay. Now, so you're going to have 0x squared, 0x, and then minus 1. Does everybody understand why the zeros have to be filled in? You have to have those filled in, okay? Now, bring your first one down. And then what you're going to do, guys, you're going to take it and you're going to multiply that number times that number and put it here. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Then you're going to add your columns, okay? 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. All right, now we're going to add that. 0 plus 4 is 4. Now, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Now, guys, I'm going to draw a little line there. That's going to be your remainder. So, guys, what they want is this number right here, negative 9. So the answer there is negative 9. Now, guys, let me show you something that I may have showed you. I didn't go really deep into it because I was really more worried about you being able to do synthetic division. Let's talk about, just for a minute, the remainder theorem, okay? Now, if you're given a divisor like this, you know that the number you're going to plug in is negative 2, okay? The easy way to do this is use the remainder theorem. The remainder theorem says if you take a solution or a factor of a polynomial, okay, and you take that number when you set the divisor equal to 0 and you plug it in. All right, so you plug it in. If you plug that in, that's going to give me negative 9. Now, guys, notice we got the same thing doing synthetic division as we did the remainder theorem. Okay, so guys, if you're looking for just the remainder, you can use the remainder theorem. And all you do, you're going to have to do this anyway with synthetic division. You're going to have to set your divisor equal to 0 and solve. And then you plug that number in for everywhere you see a variable. If you put that number in, the number at the very end, that is your remainder. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Now, guys, I told second period yesterday, we did this, and guys, this test is a lot of the same thing repeated over and over and over. Notice what on the next one, it gives you a function, okay, and it says what is the total number of real zeros of f of x. Now, a real zero zeros are the x-intercepts. That's what you're looking for, okay? Where the parabola crosses the x-axis, okay? Now, guys, what it does here, it gives you two factors of it. It gives you x minus 7 and x plus 4i. Guys, what this is a complex. That's a non-real solution. I don't really care about that. They give you this, but it really doesn't matter about that, okay? Now, what you're worried about, what is the total number of real zeros? For it to be a real zero, you have to find the x-intercepts. Now, guys, this is really easy, especially on Desmos. If you type this in, and the way that Desmos works is very, very simple. It just takes a minute to type it in. Guys, if you want to get a calculator and follow along, you can. That's up to you. I know. I was talking about a regular calculator. I should do it on it too. It just takes a minute to type it in on Desmos. Now, let me double check my So we got 2x to the fifth minus 13x to the fourth plus 22x cubed minus 187x squared minus 160x plus 336. Now, guys, all you care about is where it crosses the x-axis. Okay. Now, how many times does this thing cross the x-axis? 3. So, guys, all it wants to know is what is the total number of real zeros? And in layman's terms, how many times does it cross the x-axis? 3 real zeros. And guys, remember it said that the function below has a factor of x minus 7. There's its 0 right there. If you just roll over the gray dot, right, just with your mouse, it will tell you what that coordinate point is. So guys, that's the one it's talking about here. X equals 7, x equals 1, and x equals negative 1.5. Okay? All right. How many people think they can do that on the test? That's about as easy as you're going to get. I mean, that's really straightforward. Guys, just remember, if you see anything about zeros, if you see anything about real zeros or zeros, all you're talking about are the x-intercepts. That's all you're talking about. All right, guys, they try to change the name up to make it sound like it's mathy or something, whatever the word may be. But guys, that's all you're looking for. All right, they need to let me write the test so I can just put it in plain terms. All right. What? I mean, I'd put on there how many times it crossed the x-axis. Just count how many times. Then hell, everybody get that right? Yeah. Okay. Guys, I'm gonna tell you something. If you notice, here's another one just like we did. The graph of the function x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 4 has a 0 at negative 1. Guys, automatically this should be sticking out. That is a x intercept. What are the other zeros of the function? Okay. Now I'm going to show you on this problem how to use process of elimination. Okay. Now, if I plug in this in, x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 4. If I plug that in, now guys, what I want to know is what are the other zeros of the function? Now, guys, remember, if you roll over the gray dot, it will show you what the coordinate is. All right, now, here's the x-axis, so all I care about are these 3 x-intercepts. Okay, now, guys, look at A and B. Are A and B, are they, they're whole numbers, they're not decimals. So now look at your x-intercepts. Is there any way that could be A or B? No, because that is a whole number. It's got to be either C or D. Now, look at your numbers. It's negative 3.236 and 1.236. So all you got to do, guys, is come back here to your answer and put it in and see what you get. Put it into Desmos or whatever calculator you have. 1.23. All right, now On the next one, let's do this. Negative 1 minus the square root of 5. Negative 3.23. Now, guys, looking at these numbers, what's going to be your answer? It's going to be C. All right. That's pretty simple. All right. All right. So now, guys, on this one, you're going to have to use long division, but like you said, the math on here is much easier than the math we did in class. Okay. They just want to know if you know how to do it, pretty much. All right. Now, guys, let's go back to elementary school. Say if I gave you this. Say if I gave you this, 42 divided by 3, right? 42 divided by 3. All right, I'll make my little division house, right? What number goes here? 42, right? What number goes here? 3. Same thing here. So what's going to go, if you make your long division house, this guy is going to go on the inside. So it's x squared minus 2x minus 37. And then your divisor, what it's being divided by, is going to go on the outside. So it's x squared minus 3x minus 40. Release. Wish it wasn't there, but I can't help that. Now, guys, when you do long division, all you care about is what do I have to do to x squared to get x squared? What times x squared gives me x squared? 1. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply. 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times negative 3x is negative 3x. 1 times negative 40 is negative 40. Now, going back to elementary school, what did you always do when you find out how many times it to go into it? What do you do with the number on the bottom? You add it or subtract it? You subtract it. So if I subtract this, it's going to change all my signs. Okay? It's going to change all my signs. Now, guys, if you're doing it correctly, this will always cancel out. If that doesn't cancel out, you're doing something wrong. It's probably a sign error. TJ must already know how to do this test. Now, negative 2, negative 2x plus 3x, that'll be x. And negative 37 plus 40 is 3. Okay? So, guys, what is this right here called? That's your remainder, right? So, now, writing this down, it's 1 plus x plus 3 over my divisor, which is x squared. So what is my answer here? Hey. All right. How many people so far thinks this test is going to be hard? I mean, it's pretty just. I mean, it to me. I don't know if you get any more straightforward. That's one reason I try to make it a little bit harder in class. Well, guys, we're going to do it one more time just to make sure we know how to do it. All right, guys, on this problem, Gabby. Shh. All right, now, guys, if you look at the right side or the left side, excuse me, if you're looking at the left side, guys, that looks very familiar what we've done so far. Okay, now we're adding here, so what do we have? What do we have to get the same? Common denominators. So now, that big release thing ain't helping anything. All right, now, to get common denominators, what would I do? Right. You multiply each side by the opposite denominator. So that's going to be 7x minus 2 over 7x minus 2. You got to multiply top and bottom, because if you don't, it changes the value of your equation. Okay. Then I'm going to multiply this side by 4x plus 3 on top and bottom. Now, all right, now, guys, looking at our answer here, do we need to multiply the bottom at all? No. Remember, guys, when we did this, we very seldom multiplied a denominator. So my denominator is going to be 7x minus 2 and 4x plus 3. They got it written the other way, but it really doesn't matter. Okay. Now, all you got to do now, guys, these are binomials, so you're going to have to put some parentheses and distribute. All right, so starting here, 7x times 3x is 21x squared. Multiply it here. That's going to be negative 35x. All right, so I'm done with the 7x. Now, moving on to the negative 2. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Negative 2 times negative 10 is, or 5 is positive 10. Thanks, Whoppy John. It'll be all right. All right, now, going over here now, that's a negative 2x. Negative 2x times 4x is negative 8x squared. Negative 2x times 3 is negative 6x. All right, 1 times 4x is 4x. And 1 times 3 is 3. That's a whole lot of numbers. Yeah, it's a lot. All right, now, combine your like terms. All right, we got a 21x squared and an 8x squared. That's going to be 13x squared. Those are gone. Now, we got a bunch of x's here. That's going to be negative 41x. I'm going to write that up here. And then we got negative 6x and 4x here. That's going to be negative 2x. If you add those together, that's going to be negative 43x. And then that gets rid of those. Then the last but not least, we got 10 plus 3. That's 13. Over. So, guys, looking at this, A would be 13. B would be negative 43. And C would be 13. That's all you do. And I guess it's got a drag thing, I guess. I don't know. Online. Guys, y'all will be in here. I will get, most of you guys are being here. Some of you have to go different rooms, but for the most part, everybody being here. All right, guys, let's do it. Let's take a quick break. I don't want to, I tell you what, just get your phones and keep them. As long as you stay attentive, guys, I'm not gonna take your phones back up. We'll take about a 10-minute break. Yeah, go ahead. Just be. I wouldn't go more than about 2 at a time though, because, guys, only thing I ask is for you to put your phone away. I should not see a phone. All right. All right. Guys, the next question, the next question, guys, looks kind of tedious, but guys, really this is a very simple question. All right, now, guys, remember when we did at the very beginning of the rational unit, we did exponent rules. Now, notice that these have negative exponents. Okay, these have negative exponents. How do you how do you make a how do you make an exponent become positive? Does anybody remember? If it's on top, you put it on the bottom, or if it's on bottom, you do what? Put it on top. So let's do that. Now, guys, so what we're going to do here is we're going to put x minus 2 squared on top. That's going to change that negative 2 to a positive 2. And then we're going to do x squared minus 5x plus 6 on the bottom. And that negative 1 goes to a positive 1. I'm just not going to put it there because it means the same thing. All right, now, what we need to do here, bring x minus 2 squared on the top and x minus 3 to the first on bottom. You can put a first there if you want to, guys. It really don't matter. What are they doing? What, the exponents? When you go across the division bar, it makes them go the opposite sign. It makes it change signs. Now, let's write this out. Now, guys, don't forget you have a division sign here. Okay. All right. Now, x minus 2 squared. Guys, make sure you do not do this. That is not right. Where? Here. Yeah, but what happens when we put it on top? It makes the sign change. Yeah, that's a negative 2. Yeah. All right, now. So, guys, x minus 2 squared is x minus 2, x minus 2. Guys, just leave it that way. Don't try to FOIL it out and make one. Well, let's take care of. I think I know what you're saying, but let's take care of the negative exponents first. All right. Now, x minus 2. Now, guys, if I factor this, now this is a trinomial. It's got 3 terms in it, so you know it's going to be factored this way. All right, it's going to be x and x. What's my signs going to be, guys? You won't have signs on there unless you try to memorize them and write them down somewhere. All right, it's going to be negative, negative. All right. The two numbers that'll multiply to give me 6 to add to give me 5 is 2 and 3. Okay. So that's this factored. Okay. Now, guys, remember, we took care of the negative exponents, but now since we're dividing, we change this sign, and then what do we do with this fraction here? You flip it. So x minus 3 is going to come back to the top, and x minus 2 squared is going to be on the bottom. Now, guys, remember, we flipped it the first time to take care of the negative exponent. This time we're flipping it because it's a division problem. Okay. Now, start canceling out. Okay. You got this, you got that, you got this, and this. Now, the only thing left over is x minus 2 on the bottom. But if everything cancels out on the top, what do we use as a placeholder? A 1. That is your answer. That is D. All right. Now, guys, what this is, the next problem, this is a absolute value problem. Okay. Now, guys, on your I would write this down like on a cheat sheet or something. Alex, why don't you wake up, man? All right, now, guys, write this down somewhere. This is your formula for tolerance word problems. It's actual minus ideal, absolute value, less than or equal to tolerance. Guys, if you write that down, there's probably not going to be any work to it. But make sure maybe on a cheat sheet somewhere, like if you are, as soon as you get to the test, write this down on your scratch paper. Write that down. Actual minus ideal equals tolerance, or less than equal to tolerance. Now, guys, let's talk about this just a minute. What is the ideal weight that the company wants to have in their spaghetti? 32 ounces. All right, so now, what is the tolerance? 0.25. Look, guys, a box is discarded if the weight of the box differs by more than 0.25 ounce. All right, so now the tolerance is they can have 0.25 heavier or 0.25 lighter, but you can't go over that. So that 0.25 goes here. That's your tolerance. And your actual, well, I mean, guys, you don't know the actual until you actually weigh the spaghetti. So now, this is your answer right here. So what would be my answer? Is C. Guys, if you had this formula, there is nothing to that problem whatsoever. You don't have to do any math. All right. Guys, the next one. Guys, the next one. Are we going to try to solve anything, or are we going to just graph this thing? You're going to graph it. Don't try to make don't try to do nothing fancy. Guys, you're just going to graph each one of these and see which one of these makes this graph. Okay, now look. Guys, your vertex is 0, -2. Okay? Where the two lines meet is 0, -2. I call it a vertex. I guess it's still called that in absolute value. Now look, it also crosses at -1, 0 and 1, 0. Okay, does everybody see that? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to graph these things and see which one crosses the same points as the one given. Now, all right, so let's clear this out. Okay, now, guys, on Desmos, the absolute values here. All right, now, guys, looking at this problem right here. Now, my vertex is 0, -2. Is it 0, -2 here? Yes. So could that possibly be an answer? It could. But now, look where it crosses. This is 2, 0 and -2, 0. Look where this one crosses. 1, 0 and -1, 0. So those are different. So is that the same graph? No. All right. So let's put the second one in there. 2x minus 2. Now, got a vertex of 0, -2. It crosses at 1, 0 and -1, 0. Is that the answer? It is. Because, guys, look. 0, -2, -1, 0, and 1, 0. So those are the points that crosses through, so it'd be B. Some of these answers they give, guys, are really just off the wall. If you plug these in, they have you going everywhere. This is horizontal shift. This is vertical shift. Guys, that thing has no horizontal shift at all. It's only vertical shift. How many people still have package to work on? Okay. All right. Guys, somebody tell me, have you seen number 9 before? Let me zoom in. Does anybody remember how to set them up? Martha can paint a room in 2 hours. Jamie can paint the same room in 6 hours. How long to the nearest tenth of an hour will it take them to paint the room? Right, right. What you're going to do, guys, you're going to take, okay, for Martha, put an M there. It takes her 1/2 hours to paint a room. Okay? Now, what is Jamie's time going to look like? 1/6. All right? It's going to be equal to what? 1/x. Good, y'all. 1/x. Now, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to add these two together. So I'm going to use just a regular TI calculator. Oh, you already got it. Guys, you will have Desmos and you will have this type of calculator. So 2/3. Guys, when I add these together, I get 2/3 equals 1/x. Okay? Now, what's the next step here? You're going to cross multiply. All right, so multiply there, multiply there. That's going to be 2x equals 3 divided by 2. And it says round to the nearest tenth of an hour. That's going to be x equals 1. I didn't mean to do that. 1.5. Now, number 10. Two functions are shown below. What is the y value when f of x equals g of x? Somebody shoot me out of here. How would you go about this problem? Somebody said something about equaling to each other. Well, okay, let's see. All right, guys, we set them equal to each other. Does anybody know how to solve that? You'd have to get one side equal to 0, okay? But now, why don't we do this, guys? Is that mine? Thank you, bud. The answer, thank you, is where guys, let's be honest. I'm a math teacher, and I really don't know how I would go about to solve this. I may be able to figure out a way, but I don't really know how to solve this because you're dealing with cubic root and you're dealing with absolute value. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to graph these two functions and see where they cross. All right, so now yes, whole test. All right, here we go. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2x cubed plus 2x minus 3 in 1. So it's going to be 2x cubed Desmos is so easy to use. It's crazy. All right, now it's negative point, 0.5. Absolute values down here, guys. And then x minus 4. Okay? Now, so what we want to do is we want to find out where this thing, and guys, notice what it's asking. It's asking what is the y value when f of x is equal to g of x. So we're looking for the y value of the intersection. All right? Now, so if we go back to Desmos, what is the answer here? Negative 1.75. Does everybody see that's where these two functions cross? That's your answer. Negative 1.75. That's a very easy question if you just know how to approach it. Yep. It's real easy, probably. It's pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, you could go in there and just it'll pretty much walk you through it. Who's that? Really? What, on the exam? All right, guys, we're gonna do 11 and 12, and maybe let you work on your packets till about 10, 15, and then we'll come back to this. All right. Okay. Okay. Guys, how would you approach this problem? Just looking at the answers, how would you approach this problem? I would factor it, wouldn't you? I'd go ahead and try to factor it. All right. Now, first of all, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to find out what the GCF is between 48 and 243. All right. Math, number, option 9 is GCD. All right. 48, comma, 243. The GCF is 3. All right. Now, does this really, Mike, you on your phone, man? All right. Now, what else can I factor out of this? Guys in the back. Shh. You can factor an X out, guys. X is in both of these. Now, let's stop right here just a minute. Which two of these will not be the answer? A and B, right? Because this has a 3X. These don't. So A and B cannot be the answers. All right? So now we're looking at C and D. Now, if I factor that, that's going to be 16x squared minus 81y squared. Now, guys, going back to math 1, this is a difference of squares. Guys, is 16 a perfect square? It is. Is 81 a perfect square? Is y and x squared a perfect square? It is. So here's what you're going to do. 3x. You're going to have 2 parentheses. Shh. The square root of 16x squared is 4x. Put that in front. The square root of 81y squared is 9y. And guys, if you have a difference of squares, guys, I would write this down on your cheat sheet. If you have a difference of squares, the signs will always be minus plus. Because, guys, look, this all came down to knowing what your signs are. All right? Now, so what would be my answer? D. If I didn't know difference of squares, could I figure this problem out? You could. All you would do is multiply it, pull it out. Because, guys, this one right here would end up having a middle term. This one doesn't have a middle term. This one would have a middle term if you factor the C out. You'll see that would not be the right answer. Okay. A polynomial p of x has a leading coefficient of 1 and exactly 3 distinct zeros. All right, now, guys, multiplicity is all right. Now, multiplicity is how many factors of the same type of polynomial has. So now, what that means is it says x equals negative 1 is a zero of multiplicity of 2. All right, now guys, to get a solution of x equals negative 1, what had to be the factor of that polynomial? If I had x equals negative 1, that would actually be x plus 1, right? That will be x plus 1. Does everybody understand how I got this? Because, guys, what do I get when I set this equal to 0? Negative 1. If it has a multiplicity of 2, that means you have x plus 1 twice. If it has a multiplicity of 3, you would have the same one 3 times. 4 would be 4 times it. Just on and so forth. Now, it says it has x equals 2 as a multiplicity of 1. X equals 2 is a 0 of multiplicity of 1. Now, guys, to get x equals 2, what had to be my factor? X minus 2. You just change the sign, right? All right. And it has x equals 4 is a 0 of multiplicity of 1. If yours is 4, what had to be the factor? X minus 4. Now, guys, this is a long, drawn-out problem, but I'm going to show you how to do some elimination here. Now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply all these together. But let me show you a fast, easier way. Now, take 2 at a time, x plus 1, x plus 1. All right, if I multiply that, that's x squared plus 1x plus 1x plus 1. So that's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now, if I take this one, that's going to be x minus 2, x minus 4. If I multiply that, that's going to be x squared. That's going to be x squared minus 4x minus 2x plus 8. Now, if I combine those, that's going to be x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now, after you multiply the little ones together, now you're going to have to multiply your two big ones together. All right, now, let me show you something. Starting here, if I multiply that, what is that going to give me? X to the 4th. Now, look at your answers. Which two can I eliminate? A and B. Let's just mark those out. Because, guys, it's going to be x to the 4th because x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. All right, now trying to do as little work as possible. Now, the next thing we need to look for is my cube a positive 4 or negative 4? So let's keep going. All right, x squared times negative 6x is negative 6x cubed. X squared times 8 is 8x squared. All right, now here to here, that will be 2x cubed minus 12x. All right, let's stop right here just a minute. Now, guys, is there going to be any more x cubed terms come out from multiplying? No. Look at these two right here. This one and this one. If I add those together, what do I get? So what's my answer? C. Guys, I wouldn't work no harder than I have to. Another way you could do it, another way you could do it, guys, is, well, you'd have to go down through there. Guys, does everybody know what the highest power of a polynomial tells you about its zeros? All right. If the highest power in your polynomial is 4, that means it's going to have four zeros. If the highest power in there is 3, you're going to have 3 zeros. How many zeros do I have here? I've got 2. I got 2 negative 1s, 1 positive 2, and 1 positive 4. How many zeros is that altogether? 4. 2, 3, 4. Now, so guys, automatically, it has to be one. It's either C or D. Okay? It's either this one or this one. Just knowing what the highest power is going to tell you. The highest power tells you how many zeros it has. Okay? That's the fundamental theorem of algebra. Okay? Now, so what you do is, guys, if you know, we already know C is the answer, but if I graph C, if you know how to use a calculator, you can pretty much do everything on here with a calculator. Basically. If I graph this, now guys, remember, this thing has 4 zeros, but now, how many zeros of negative 1 did I have? You had 2. There's 2 of them right there. X equals 2 and x equals 4. That would tell you guys that this would be the answer, C. All right. Guys, y'all want to work on y'all's packets for a while? All right. Go ahead and work on them, guys. What? What you going to do? You said something about giving me hell or something.
Well, I'm going over here.
No, you're not. Third face.
I'm right now.
Huh.
Passed the science exam.
Did?
Did. Got 600.
So you good? All right. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. This one right here is a difficult question. Hold on a minute. Let me move this. This is a difficult question. Guys, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip this right now. I might put it on the video later on how to solve it. I've already solved it, though. Vertices of a triangle are 1, 0, 0, 6, 6, 9, 3. So, guys, you'll have to have some graph paper to do this. I'll get some graph paper. I'll show that on there too. All right, let's look at this one. In a parallelogram, MNPT, parallelogram, MNPT. Measure of M is 6x plus 10. The measure of N is 5x plus 10. How many degrees is angle T? Okay. Now, first of all, guys, does anybody remember if you have two consecutive angles in a parallelogram that equal 180? So you're going to add those together, 5x plus 10. It's good y'all remember that. Oh, that's 10.5, ain't it? 5x plus 10.5. That's going to be 14.5. All right, now, x is 14.5. Okay, now, guys, look at T. It wants to know what the measure of T is. Guys, in a parallelogram, opposite angles are what? They're congruent. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to plug that in. 5 times 14.5 plus 10.5 is 83. Let's see what the key got. We'll just double check. I like double check my work. What number is that? 23? 83 degrees. Yes. So guys, consecutive angles in a parallelogram are what? Supplementary equal to 180 when added together. Opposite angles are what? Are equal to each other. Okay. Now, in rectangle FGHI, diagonals FH and GI intersect at E. Okay? So FH and GI. If IE is 3x plus 4 and EG is 5x minus 6, what is the length of FH? Now, guys, if you remember, being a rectangle, the diagonals are congruent. What does congruent mean? The same. So what I'm going to do, so that's going to be, I'm always a step ahead here. X equals 5. So guys, what we need to do here, we're going to, you got to get the whole thing because FH is the whole diagonal. All right, now, that's 19. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 4. And then 5 times 5 is 25 minus 6 is, that's right, 19. So what would this be, guys? 38 units. Because, guys, it's the whole thing. 19 plus 19 is 38. Does everybody understand that? Yeah, this is the very first. It's like the first or second unit. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Centroid, we did not get to that because that was one of those small ones. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. If you get one of these on the test, just guess at it because we did not go over this. It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy, but guys, if you get one of those, unless you know something about it, you're going to have to guess at it. So we did not go over that. All right.
Not right now.
It's probably real simple. It's just What is the length of a radius of the circle represented by the equation x squared plus y squared minus 4x minus 4y plus 4? All right, now, guys, let me try something real quick. If we go to Desmos and we put that in, let's see if that'll work. So x squared plus y squared minus 4x minus 4y. Nope. Just give me a. You did. Okay. So guys, what you're gonna do? Does anybody remember how to complete the square? All right. I'm gonna show how to do it, guys. I mean, like I said, I don't know if you guys will remember. All right. First thing you're gonna do. First thing you're gonna do, guys, is you're gonna get. You're gonna keep your variables on the left side. Get your constant over here. So I'm gonna subtract 4 from both sides. Now, in the meantime, I'm gonna get my x's together and my y's together. So it's gonna be x squared minus 4x plus blank plus y squared minus 4y plus blank equals negative 4. Now, guys, what's going to go right here is after we do the complete the square, okay? All right, now this is like I think it was the last two questions on the circle test when we did it. Now, what you do, you take that number, you take your b, divide it by 2, and you square it. Well, negative 2 squared is 4. That's going to be 4 as well. Now, so guys, what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to add this to the constants to the other side. Okay? Now, well, actually not. So let me see. Hold on a minute. All right. So now, let's make this look like a that would be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared. And then you're going to subtract. But if I subtract those, it's being negative. But the radius would be squared. All right. What's up, buddy? Oh, okay. How'd you figure it out, man? I'll ask you in a minute. Let's see, 2. I bet you. Oh, I know what it is. I know what I did wrong. If I add 4 to this side, I got to add 4 to this side. That's what I did wrong. All right. So what's negative 4 plus 4? What plus 4? 4. What I did, guys, what I did wrong, you know when I added this 4 over here, I got to add 4 to that side as well. When I added that 4, I had to add the 4 over here as well. So now, negative 4 plus 4 is 0 plus 4 is 4 units. So it'd be B. What's up, man?
These two are the same. These two are the same. These two are the same. That means that this and this are the same. Set those two equal to each other. You get x equals 4. And plug it in for
So so you need to set GH and GJ together.
It looks weird, but
Where does PG come into play?
PG. So PG is right here, right? So
Uh,
you're trying to find the measure of segment PG.
okay.
So once you find X from equaling those two together, you plug in X to PG.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That's where you got the 17. Okay. Um, what number was that?
25.
D. Yep. D. Yep.
They put that whole thing in there. It's really easy. Stuff we already know.
Probably just
It's literally just there.
yeah. Is that you review test?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? Give me the thing, boy. Yeah, I'm gonna take those two. The main thing I want is the review test. Guys, what are you doing, turd? I like to see something.
You taking these?
No, just I'm gonna look at them. All right, well,
Plug in also.
Here, Johnson. I'm sending you my notes. Is that
okay,
and all that?
okay.
If you really just break it down, like by looking at the angles, how the angles match up.
Here, hold on to that. Yeah, I want to see it. I already saw it.
Right?
Okay.
These two equal each other, those two equal each other, those two equal each other. So they're
Guys, yeah.
So Johnson, you know how it hurt my knee? Or you know how my knee's been kind of like hurting a little bit?
Yeah.
You know what I did that?
What's up, buddy?
Tore my ACL and my meniscus.
At the same time?
Yeah.
You good, Abby? You good? You don't need those for anything?
It's been torn for like a month.
They say a guy told me he tore his stuff like that, and it stayed tore for years. And one day he was vacuuming. All right, guys, let's keep going on with the review. Um, the next question, number 27. David plans to cover the floor of his room with new material. The floor is an isosceles trapezoid, whose bases are 16 and 26, and sides are 13 feet in length. Each piece of new material has an area of 2.5 square feet. All right, now, so the best thing I would say is draw an isosceles trapezoid. Isosceles trapezoid means the two sides are the same length. All right. All right. Now, it says I'm gonna let the top base be 16, the bottom base be 26. Now, the formula for area of a trapezoid is base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. All right. Now, it says the sides are 13, so that means if one side's 13, both sides are 13. Now, so in our formula, because guys, if you're covering something, if you're covering a floor, what you're doing, you're covering the area of the floor, length times width. If it was a rectangle. Now, B1 and B2 have B1, B2. We do not have our height, so we need to find that. The height is actually here. If I drop a dotted line, drop an altitude there, that is the height there. That's H. Now, if you think about it, if you think about it, um, if you drop that down,
if you drop a height here, and that's 16, this is 5, this is 5, and that becomes 16. Okay, 16 plus 5 is 21, plus 5 is 26. Still got the same length, but now we have to do that in order to get the height. Now, that being said, this is Pythagorean theorem. It is a right triangle, so it's going to be h squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared. That's going to be h squared plus 25 equals 169. All right, now to get h by itself, we want to subtract 25. So that's going to give me h squared equals 144. And then if I to get h by itself, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. That gives me a height of 12. Okay, so now this is 12. All right, now, so that's all we need, guys. Like I said, if you're covering something like this, all you're doing is area. Okay, so base 1 is 16. Base 2 is 26. That's the whole base on the bottom. Divided by 2 times the height, which is we found with the Pythagorean theorem, is 12. All right, now, so if we put that in our calculator, this is our formula right here. We'll put this in one little bit at a time here. 16 plus 26 plus 16 is 42. So 42 divided by 2 is 21. Okay, times 12. So times 12. Now, to find out how many pieces you need, you need to know how much each piece covers. Notice right here, guys, it says it covers an area of 2.5 square feet. So to know how many those pieces you need, you're going to take the area given, okay, divided by how much each piece covers. So that's going to be divided by 2.5. Okay. Now, if I divide that by 2.5, that gives me approximately 100.8, which will be A. Okay, so he had to buy 101 pieces to cover that trapezoid floor. Okay, now which method is most likely to produce a random sample of five students from a school club? Now notice the key here is random. That's the key word here. Okay, to be random, nothing can be no, everything has to be completely random. Okay, so now selecting 5 club members who have brown hair. Well, if you prick only the brown hair people, that's not random. Selecting the 5 club members who have raised the most funds for the club, that is not random because you have to look and you're manipulating the survey there. Selecting 5 club members from a hat containing the name of all members. Well, if you think about it, guys, if you put all the names in a hat and draw out 5, that is a random sample. So if the answer there will be C. Also, guys, for D, selecting the 5 members who arrived last to a club meeting, you're still manipulating there, so that would make it not random. All right, let's keep going. Now, guys, this particular problem, it looks like it's talking about margin of error, but it gives you the formula. Notice this is your formula right here. Okay, this is one of these things I'm afraid that somebody is gonna skip because it just looks hard. Guys, this thing's not hard. You're given everything you need. All right, so the margin of error equals 2 times the standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. Okay. Now a high school randomly selects 75 of the 200 seniors of the school to take a sample college entrance exam. The mean grade point average of the seniors selected was 2.85, and the standard deviation was 0.4. Click all the statements that are true. All right, now, so first of all, let's see what happens. now, so what we're going to have to do here, guys, we're going to have to, let's find our standard deviation. That's 2.4. So 2 times, now it says the first one, the margin of error for the mean grade point average is about 0.057. Well, if you think about it, guys, nothing in here, has nothing to do with the mean grade point average. So let's hold up on that one. All right, now notice the margin of error for the mean. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and put in S, which is zero point 0.4, divided by the standard. That's the standard deviation. Um, and we got to find our sample size. Our sample size was 75. Now, if we put that in our calculator, that is 2, excuse me, 2 times alpha y equals, that'll give us a fraction there. Now we're going to put in 0.4 on the top, and then square root of our sample size on the bottom. That's what we get. 0.092. So that one actually would work. Okay. Now we know, so the margin of error for the mean grade point average is about 0.057. Guys, that would not work because notice when we plugged in everything we need, we got 0.0092. Okay, so we know that doesn't work. Now, the margin of error would decrease if the sample size were changed to 125 seniors. All right, now, well, let's see. Well, the margin of error, for 75 was 0.092. So now all you got to do is plug in 125 for your sample size and see if it increases. So now let's do that. 2 times standard deviation is the same, 0.4, the square root of 125. Now let's see what happens. So now if we put that, so 2, so let's do this. Let's clear that. Let's do second enter and just re-enter the bottom. That'd be a lot smarter. 125. Okay. Now, if it says the margin of error would decrease if the sample size were changed to 125 seniors. Okay, now press enter. Now look, the standard deviation when 125 seniors is put in did actually decrease to 0.072 if you rounded it. Okay, so now notice it did decrease, so that would work. Okay, the margin of error would increase if the sample size were changed to 125 seniors. Well, we saw that it decreased from 0.92 to 0.072, so we know that's not the answer. So your answer, which would be correct, is the 2 check marks. All right, guys, don't give up on it because, guys, if you got the formula, this is just as easy as plugging it in. There's nothing to it. Margin of error can be tricky if you don't have the formula and stuff, and you're trying to work it out from scratch. But guys, this is terribly easy. It's already giving you the formula. It tells you what each thing means. So that being said, that was number 29. Just plug it in the formula. That's all you're doing. Okay. Okay. The police chief of a town is trying to determine the average speed of drivers on a specific road. The police chief took a random sample of the speeds of 100 drivers on the road. The mean was 48.5 miles an hour, okay, with a standard deviation of 2.5. Now, you're probably going to need this, guys, because look right here. That's margin of error. So you got to have that standard deviation. The police chief wanted to decrease the margin of error of his next sample. All right. Which choice would decrease the margin of error? Now, guys, if you remember, when we increased the sample size in the last problem, when we increased the sample size, it made the margin of error go down. Now, look, now listen what it says. Which choice would decrease the margin of error? Okay. Now, um, if you decrease the sample size, it's going to make the margin of error go up. If you increase the sample size, it's going to make the margin of error go down. All right. So now we know it's not this one. Okay. Changing the road on which the data is collected. Well, guys, that really doesn't matter because he just selecting at random 100 drivers, so that has nothing to do with it. Changing the time that data is collected, he's still going to get 100 drivers, so that doesn't matter. So your answer is B. And guys, we proved that. If you want to prove it again, if you do the okay, our standard deviation is 2.5 over. Now let's do the square root of 100. So square root of 100. Now, if we put that in our calculator, looking at the calculator on the screen, we put that in our calculator. Now I'm gonna make up. We took the 100 people that he had. All right, now I'm gonna second enter. That way I don't have to enter the whole thing. Well, I gotta fix my standard deviation. That's 2.5. 2.5. All right, and then I'm gonna go down here and change that to 100. Now let's see what the standard deviation is. It's 0.5. Now let's just choose a number that's bigger than 100 and see what happens to the margin of error. Guys, remember this is the margin of error formula. All right, so second enter, and all we're going to do is we're going to go change our sample size. Now remember, guys, the sample size is n, which is on the bottom. Okay, the sample size was 100 the first time, so we plug that in. Let's do 200. Now, guys, I'm just choosing this because we're just seeing if we increase the sample size, does the margin of error go down? Press enter. You can see it does. It went down to 0.35. So the answer, that proves you that the answer is B. Okay. Now, there was one that I skipped um, on the review because I knew it'd take a long time. Let's see here. There's the one about the it's one about the sign function. We'll find it, guys. I will post this video and the notes online. Um, Guys, remember, if you know what the zeros are, remember we find out what the if you was in the review, the zeros are nothing but the x intercepts. The x intercepts. If you know what x intercepts, what if you understand that, guys, a lot of this test is basically it's a bunch of repeats, some piecewise functions. If you know what your domain is, easy. Guys, I think if you paid attention in class, um, I don't think you're gonna have any trouble whatsoever with this test. You know, because guys, um, it's pretty straightforward going by the one last year. Oh, here we go. Now, guys, I'm gonna show you the fastest way to do this because you don't really need to know a whole lot of information to find this. All right, now looking at your thing your function here, the A, that's your amplitude. That's your B, that actually affects your period. This is your vertical shift. Guys, we do not have a phase shift here. That must be a pre-cal. That must be a pre-calculus topic because I didn't see anything about it in the standard. So, now guys, let me show you something. Look right here. It says a period. Okay, this is the function, and it says a period of 6. Okay, now let's write this down. F of x equals a times sine of bx plus h. Okay. Now I use d for vertical shift, but that's okay. We can any variable will work. Now let's talk about period just a minute. If the period is 6, it's 2 pi divided by b. 2 pi divided by b gives you your period. Okay. So now think about this. To get a period of 6, Now, guys, you could try this, but let me show you this. Say if we're trying to get a period of 6, because it tells us that. So it's going to be, I'm going to say, because what's going to happen, we're going to flip and multiply. Look at this b value here. Now, if I divide that, that's 2 pi. Now, going on this value right here, the pi over 3, okay? That's pi over 3. Hope you can see that. Yeah. Now, 2 pi divided by, if that's my b value, it's divided by pi over 3. Now, if I divide this, it's 2 pi divided by pi over 3, not skipping any steps. Now, going back to elementary school or middle school when we first started dividing fractions, is keep, change, flip. Okay, now, your pi's are going to cancel, okay? Now, 2 times 3 is 6. So look, there's our period. So we automatically know our b value just by using the 2 pi over b to get it. This is our period right here. Just by using that, we found that our period. We got our period the first time. Because guys, think about it. All you're gonna do is flip and multiply. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. So what led me to this was if I flip and multiply, 2 times 3 is 6, and that's the only one that had a 3 in it that would actually multiply 2 times 3 to give me 6. So we know automatically that b is pi over 3. Okay. Now we're gonna the next thing is, guys, notice it says it has a minimum value of 2. Now, thanks to Mr. Dragoon, he taught me how to find the bottom, which bottom and minimum is the same thing. Minimum value. And guys, what that is, if you got a sine function, you got your bottom line, you got your midline, you got your top line. You're just trying to find the bottom line. Now, if you was in my class, we beat this in the ground. To get the minimum value, the bottom line, is a times -1 plus, in this case, it's going to be the h value. It's usually d. Okay, but now we don't have an a, or we don't have an h. Okay, so now let's think about this just a minute. Now we might have to do a little bit of plug and chug here. All right, now if I have a minimum value of 2, now think about this: a normal sine function oscillates between 1 and -1. This is 0, okay? And it says, and it oscillates this way, okay? And touching your bottom. All right, now, so what we're trying to find, it's telling us our minimum value here. That's what it's telling us is no longer -1. It's +2. It's +2. So I know my amplitude is probably, with it being a value of 2, I'm gonna say my amplitude is gonna be 2. So I'm gonna try it first. All right. Now think about this: 2 times -1 is -2. What do I have to get to have a minimum value of 4? Well, if you think about it, if I add 4 to this, 2 times -1 is -2, plus 4 is 2. Okay. So this is my bottom line. That's my bottom line, my minimum value. So now, but however, so let's say this. So we found out what we think our A is 2, we think our H is 4. So let's write that out. It's 2 times, that's my A, okay, 2 times sine of pi over 3 x plus, we're going to say our minimum value, our H is 4. A value, H value, okay? Now, so put this in your calculator. Now, guys, make sure if you graph this, it's got to be in radian mode, okay? It's got to be in radian mode or it won't work right. All right, so now, go to your calculator, turn it on, make sure it's in radian mode. It's not, it's in degrees, so I need to go change it. Now, go to y equals, clear that out. All right, now let's put that in there. So 2 times sine. Now pi over 3, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to make this a pretty fraction here. Alpha y equals numerator, denominator. Pi is a second function of the caret key. 3. Put my variable there, which is x, close parenthesis, plus 4. Now, all we can do here is try. I mean, it may be right or it may not. All right. Now, so we know our minimum value is 4 because, guys, we found that. I mean, excuse me, we know our minimum value is 2. We found that here. So we know our minimum value is going to be 2. Negative 2 plus 4 gave us 2. So we know that minimum value is 2. Now, looking at this, it says when you plug in 2.5. So what this means is, guys, when you plug 2.5 in for x, the y value equals 5. Okay, so that's what that means. When I plug in an x value of 2.5, then the y value is 5. That's what it's telling me. Okay, so now let me show you how to do that. Now, hit trace on your calculator. Okay, hit trace. All right, now you have to hit trace first. If you don't, it won't work. All right, hit trace. Now, I want you to start typing 2.5 in. 2.5. Press enter. Now, guys, notice when I plug in 2.5, that gives me a y value of 5. So, guys, think about it. I have a period of 6. I have a minimum value of 2. When I plugged in 2.5 for x, I got 5. So, guys, I believe we found our function here. So that would be 2 and 4. So the function ended up being 2 sine pi over 3 x plus 4. That was your. And guys, like I said, if you remember this, if you was in my class, remember it's a times negative 1 plus d, which in this case, h and d h is the vertical shift. In our class, it was d was the vertical shift. But that's okay. You can always just use a. Same thing. Okay. If you get the bottom, if you find the minimum value, we found the minimum value by we went ahead and we just chose 2. Now, guys, you had to plug and chug a little bit, but we plugged in a 2 there times negative 1 because how the negative 1 comes in, that is the parent function of a sine. The parent sine function has a minimum value of negative 1, so now that's where negative 1 comes. 2 times negative 1, so we plugged in the 2 that we thought was right. All right, that was just something we plugged in. 2 times negative 1, and to make a minimum value of 2, we had to add the h value had to be 4, so we did that. So, guys, we pretty much really we didn't have to plug and chug too much. We actually got it pretty quick. But 2 times negative 1 plus 4 was a positive 2. That was my minimum value they said it was, which is here. And then, remember getting a period. That was pretty easy because to get the period is 2 pi divided by b. Well, I just thought if the b value is pi over 3, I know I'm going to have to flip and multiply. That's going to end up being 6. So I knew the period was 6 just by thinking about what my b value should be, which was pi over 3. So, guys, that was actually not a hard question, and you will have to click and drag those. Guys, I think that's the whole test. I'm gonna post these notes on Google Classroom and the video on Google Classroom, and then you guys, if you like, you can watch it and see if you can get something out of it. Good luck on your test.